beginning of this presentation, we talked about making a difference. What it means, tools required is internet, right? PC. Look the goofy thing up. Become informed. Take a subject. Now try to get people to join with you. Make those phone calls and see what you can do. Right?
And it started really with your committee. You got a committee first. You went to your tea party and said, we need people to join, and here's our committee. So
all I said was, I want a list. Give me a list. When they contributed to that list, they joined. Right? Okay. You go out there and you type in Sharia law, and you're not going to get any answers. So you call your person's out. Where do I find stuff on Sharia law? And the object is, get close to your representative. Open up the channel of communication. Don't slam the door. Open it up. You want information you can work off of. I want Dan Taylor to tell me, why can't I get a senator to join? They just won't have it because it'll instantly change the way the Senate's made up. They can't afford this thing. All right, man, you're out. And I agree, that is very true. Now I need to start talking to senators and find out what I can do to get this bill co-sponsored on the other side of the aisle. Does that make sense? I'm not walking my neighborhood. I'm not, doing all this crap that we've been asking Tea Party people to do. All I've done is sat in front of my computer and learned what's going on and made a couple of phone calls. That's all it takes. And then you follow up. Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody realize, and I didn't know this till just recently, when I was trying to get the freedom, our legislators, even though they don't go in till January, they have to have all these bills ready by November this year. Now the brand new people, I don't know how that's going to be, how they can accomplish something when they don't even have an office or whatever. They're already working.
There's an organization down in Austin that takes all these bills and does an initial study on it, and looks at it, makes sure that the words are right, and they come back to these guys, and it happens every day. These guys are all working in Austin diligently. Jody's down there, and she's hooked up with the health stuff, and she's down there all the time going to all the organizations that are like to help. Right? And man just returned. He's working on all the same kind of stuff. So.
Well, also, okay, this was the last legislature, but he's going to have to refile the same bill, and he can go back and refile the same bill.
He refuses to refile the same bill.
Why?
There's no Senate support. It's going to put him in jeopardy.
All right, so unless we can get Paxton on there before November.
Bingo!
Okay.
We have a new Senator, Kelly Hancock.
Who is John Galt? Anyway,
Kelly Hancock, too.
Obviously,
right.
this lady understands the scenario. If we go to work now, and we cannot just, you pick your subject, you pick yours, let's go to work, and just right here we've got 20 different subjects. We can make a difference. So Dennis calls me and says, look what I found. I think it ought to be this. Can you help me? Will you call and get me some support? When Cindy and I talked to a senator and a rep at, where were we? State Convention. We were at the State Convention. And we talked to them about changing the election code so that anybody that's on the ballot has to be a citizen. And they have to prove it, just like it used to be in Texas. They said, you write it, we'll submit it. And that was for House and Senate. They want us to participate. If they're writing a bill about their mama, they would love to sit and talk to you about it because they're writing it and share all the agony they're going through. But if you can provide support, where does the support go? It ends up being in committee hearings. You go down and you testify. Well, you're not going to take 35 people. You'll be lucky to get 5. And once you get your 5 people, you'll be down there by 9 o'clock in the morning. and they'll let you speak at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And then you come
2:30 in
back.
the morning.
That's how that works. But the thing is, you can actually make a difference. So let's wrap this up. I had a half hour starting an hour and a half ago. We the people. We the people. We the people a little earlier in this room all got elected. And you all. The only difference between you and those guys in Austin is they got to go raise campaign funds. The rest of what they do is to vote. You don't get a chance to vote down there. But you can affect the legislation. If you're pissed, if you're upset, and you don't like what's going on, fix it.
Real quick, because I did that. I don't know. My representative does not like me.
There's the deal.
Get rid of it.
Let me give you an example.
Right. Declare war.
I'm a member of a group called Tea Party, something or other. We meet in Austin, the senators and the representatives. What?
The Tea Party caucus?
Yeah, Conservative Caucus.
Okay.
Tea Party Conservative Caucus. Anyway, it gives me an opportunity to meet these guys. And as you know, I'll go meet these guys anyway, wherever place I see them. And the object is to open the door, not to close it. Because you need their information. If you go and if you meet some of these people and get to know who they are, Republican or Democrat, you need to create a relationship that will yield information that you can use to your advantage.
You know, I don't have a problem with that. But when I sign a document that my senator and representative wanted us to sign to connect with them as conservative leaders in Texas, and I go home and I say, oh, Dave, this is great, they're going to vote conservative. And I go home and he says, here, sign up with them. And I said, okay. David says, yay. So I did. Guess what? When all the voting came out, did they vote conservatively? No. So I listed all of the names that had signed that document because I had a copy of it, and that. And they outed him, but let me tell you what, he may not like me, but it helped because people saw that and people realized that their conservative senators and representatives were not voting how we wanted them to vote. And it became a firestorm.
You sound like Pastor Rowe. Good for you. That's exactly what he's doing.
It's a terrible thing to be the person that outed, and then you have your leader in Denton County kicking you to the curb.
Tough standing up for what you believe.
I know, and I still do it, but it's very hard.
Right? The nice thing about the House of Representatives is there are a bunch of them. Go get the next one. Any bill you find has attached with it an author. Right? Get to know that author. Hi, what do you want?
I have a question about that. How many do you find really aren't the authors, but just promoting something someone else wrote? And don't have a clue really anything about it.
I don't know, because I haven't done enough of it. But the chances, you bring up a good point. What are we trying to be? We're trying to be two things. You know, currently the lobbyists run Austin, and they deliver the goods. Here's the paper we sign. Right? We're bigger than those groups. We're just not as rich as those groups. Let us be the lobbyists. There are some folks, like Van Taylor, that wrote the darn thing after extensive research. So the chances of them writing it from scratch, probably a small number. But what you got is you got a guy named Ken Paxton who's looking to become Lieutenant Governor of Texas. That's his goal. And to do that, what he wants to do is raise money. So in this session, he's been out aligning himself with many large organizations to fill his war chest. Now, when you go to a guy like Ken Paxton, who's new to the Senate, say, I want you to stand up for us and do these things, he's going to have to think, how it affects his bidders, his support. But there are a lot of senators. There's more to talk to. All of this can be done on the phone and an email. Yes?
Ken would probably tell you who to go talk to.
And he will.
He tell you what?
To who to go talk to
Right.
and give you advice. Some of them, I was looking for advice from Benton, and what I got was I want to talk about my bills. You know, Chucky said, go find me a bunch of people that will read these 6,000 bills coming through. I need readers. I'm not interested in providing readers. I want writers. I want people that can look at a bill and find out what's wrong with it, point the finger, and get it fixed. We the people have to decide what it is that we want, what we think we can get passed, which means you have to understand what kept it from getting passed last time. What will be the best for Texas? Is it fiscally responsible? Is it simple and easy to understand? And it needs to be good for the U.S.
It needs to be good for society, really.
It does.
It really,
And not
in
a
line with
European
our heritage.
society.
And in line with our heritage.
One of the things that this is talking about is, should we do the authoring or have his staff, or the people that typically author legislation, to do? Understand that anything that's written does go to a committee, and they look at the ramifications and they do their report back, so changes can be made. I personally recommend that you need to do your best to actually rewrite, make the appropriate changes to the legislation you want, and submit it, and stick with it. Yes?
Does that committee that it goes to, that looks over everything, do they make the changes or they suggest the changes?
They tell the author what the problems are. Then the author deals with that appropriately.
Chuck, I gotta ask you something. You know, if you look at even the larger picture, and you started with the large picture because you wanted to see what were their priorities, and then you had to pick, you know, what you were going to work on. But the larger picture is, what are the areas that we need to, that need major overhaul, Texas-wise, and is there a group anywhere that is working with other states who've already passed such legislation? Is there a group in Texas that actually, is it the Attorney General's office that does that, or what? No.
There are groups, and certainly not the Attorney General's office, but there are conservative organizations that do work across state lines and work within the state as well. We have them here in Texas as well as some major groups. If you tend to align and work with one of those groups, you're not taking your personal group that you're working with and getting them physically involved with their legislator, be it state or federal. The point here is that those elected officials really do need to know that we care, that we're watching, and what it is we want. And as Cindy so aptly put it, if enough make those phone calls with knowledge of what's in the bill and a request for whatever burden, that you can actually have this. The problem is that you call, and Cindy calls, and Barbara calls. The point is, we need to bring more along. And to do that, we need to ingrain them in a subject that they can work on. When it gets locked up in calendar committee, or when it gets locked up in the election committee, we need to call a committee. And they need to understand that we can do that. And to work this legislation and make that happen.